So let us chant number 8 of the verse number, chapter number 5, 8, 9, 10, 11 and 12. So 5 verses. Naiva kinchit karomiti, naiva kinchit karomiti, yukto manyeta tattvavit, yukto manyeta tattvavit, pashyan shrinvan sprishan jigran, pashyan shrinvan sprishan jigran, ashnan agachan swapatshwasan, ashnan agachan pralapan visrijan grinhan, pralapan visrijan grinhan, unmishan nimishan napi, unmishan nimishan napi, indriyanindriyartheshu, indriyanindriyartheshu, vartanta iti dharayan, brahmanyadhaya karmani, brahmanyadhaya karmani, sangam tyaktva karoti yaha, sangam tyaktva karoti yaha, lipyate na sapapena, lipyate sapapena, padmapatramivambhasa, padmapatramivambhasa, कायेन मनसा बुद्ध्या, कायेन मनसा बुद्ध्या, केवलैरिन्द्रियैरपि, केवलैरिन्द्रियैरपि, योगिनः कर्म कुर्वन्ति, योगिनः कर्म कुर्वन्ति, सङ्गं त्यक्त्वात्मशुद्धये, त्यक्त्वात्मशुद्धये, युक्तः कर्मफलं त्यक्त्वा, युक्तः कर्मफलं त्यक्त्वा, शान्तिमाप्नोति नैष्ठकीम्, शान्तिमाप्नोति नैष्ठकीम्, अयुक्तकामकारेण, अयुक्तकामकारेण, फले सक्तो निबध्यते, फले सक्तो निबध्यते. So we've already seen the verses number, the meaning of the verses 8 and 9. And the meaning of the verses 8 and 9 is associated with the conduct of a person who is a Jivan Mukta. Jivan Mukta means a person who has attained the ultimate freedom possible in this whole universe while still alive as a human being. But this is the specialty of Vedanta. Not seen anywhere. We don't see it anywhere. What is not seen anywhere? We don't see the vision and teaching of saying that you can be totally free while you are living under the limitations of the body-mind complex as a human being. This we don't see it anywhere. Look at the beauty and the very uniqueness of this. This is what the Vedantic teaching means. We don't find it anywhere. It's not as though we're saying we are superior to others. Please see that. It is not bragging. Not bragging that, it's other people are stupid, we are the best. It's not like that. But it would be very nice to see if this teaching is available someplace else. It will be wonderful. We can all say, yeah, we'll shake hands and give them a big hug and say we are all thinking alike. We don't see that. Nowhere. Nowhere. Can you do? And so what is being said is that really this is a remarkable thing. That while you are apparently limited, you see the limitlessness of yourself. This is the remarkable, amazing thing. And this is epitomized by the word Jivan Mukta. So the word Jivan, it's called a continuous present participle. While living, it means while alive. While alive means while living. While living means while I am apparently subject to problems, I am still completely free. Still while I am alive, I am. So it basically means that I have reduced the effect of my apparent problems into its apparentness. There is something more that I'm aware of which transcends the problems. Transcends the problems. And so we have already seen that, amazingly enough, the sting of problems can be blunted if I have a higher objective in my life. We have seen so many examples of that. We even last week and the week before that, our favorite example, that if you don't have a higher objective, then small things bother you. That you are always looking for pleasure, for sukham, by comfort. You just bought a new car and you're just going for a drive. You're just aimlessly driving. And so naturally you will want to make sure that you avoid traffic jams, you just go anywhere you like, and you prefer to go into a nice drive in the Redwood City, Redwoods, not Redwood City, but Redwoods. Now they're also becoming a big problem. The bicyclists make life very difficult, especially where I live in a little bit of a hills. I tell you, my wife and I both start with a prayer in the morning. Please don't let us hit a bicyclist. Our life will be ruined. And it's becoming very difficult. But anyway, outside of that, it's nice to go for a drive on the redwoods. But if you have a higher objective in mind, then the pain of traffic jams, etc., is forgotten. Because your objective is that I want to get there. This is the middle seat syndrome I talked to you about a long time ago. The middle seat syndrome, where if you are going to Hawaii and you are assigned, and this is what happens, I guarantee you, this has happened to us so many times. You come back from Hawaii so nicely, and then you get herded into a middle seat for 6 hours. And everything is just gone out of the window. But supposing your mother is very sick and you're traveling, the same middle seat doesn't bother you. Why? Because you are happy that you caught a plane and you are likely to reach your mother's home in a timely fashion. You are very happy about it. And you don't mind if it's in the middle seat or your vegetarian meal was never ordered properly. It doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. You would still prefer if it doesn't happen, but it doesn't matter. Similarly, this is what is being talked about in these two verses, by Jivan Mukta. So Jivan Mukta means you have discovered a source of happiness, source of joy, where the pinpricks of life don't bother you. This is Jivan Mukta. In a Jivan Mukti, the freedom while you're alive is very much possible, extremely possible. Not a dream that you have to do. This is very achievable. This is what Vedanta teaches. Unique, not elsewhere. Just amazing. So he says, Na eva kinchit karomi iti yuktaha manyeta tattvavid pashyan shrinvan sprishan jigran. Whatever it is happening, you are on a different plane of experience. Let things happen. Your body is functioning. And if there's some management has to take place, fine. But the worry that I am responsible for myself, that I'm very, very cognizant of the results, and I am critical of if the results don't well. All of this will come in a minute. That doesn't happen to this person. That doesn't happen to this person. And so, as I was mentioning it to you, that if you're having a bad day in the office and you are feeling insecure, and then you come home, and I remember the time, nowadays I think both spouses work, but there was a time when you could live with only one spouse working. When our children were growing up, I was very lucky to live in the 60s and 70s, where my wife didn't have to work, and she was taking care of the kids, and she would make the meals, and I'd come home. Old traditional way. Those are gone days now. Now it doesn't happen. Now both of you pick up the food from outside. So this is what happens. But in those days, you can imagine if a person comes home and he's had a hard day at the office, and the food is not ready at home, you can have an argument and say, "Hey, I'm hungry. How come? What did you do the whole day? You're not working." But if you're a scientist or some engineer, or you're discovering some great things and you're in the middle of thinking about it, then the food doesn't bother you at all. Doesn't bother you at all. So this is the whole thing, is that there is a state of beingness where the life doesn't matter at all. You are on a higher plane by yourself. This is what it is pointing out. And then the question is, how do I develop this higher plane that I need to be on? Jivan Mukta. How do I do this? So in a very simple way, this is repeated at various points in the Gita, that there is really 3 stages that you have to reach. One is dependence on the world. This is the initial stage, world dependence. You are completely at the mercy of what happens to you, how the world gives you. weather, earthquakes, and other people, your own thoughts. So this is what is the three shantis that you have. Shanti, shanti, shanti. So one shanti is Adi Bhautika, means all the various people. So the first one is Adi Bhautika, Shanti from other people, other situations and so on. The second Shanti is Adi Daivikam. So things that you don't see from others, but devas are angry with you. Not angry with you, but they give you results that are not conducive to you. So earthquakes, drought, too much water, etc., heat. This is called Adi Daivikam. The third one is Adhyatmikam. So these are the Trividha Shanti that you get. Adhyatmikam means no one else is bothering you, but you are bothering yourself. And that what you are bothering yourself has two aspects to it. One is physical, where you're not taking care of your health. You've neglected your health and the health is bothering you. And more important than that, emotional problems. Your own thoughts, your own ideas that people don't like me. No one says that we don't like you, but your own thoughts are that people don't like me. I don't know why people don't like me. And so you want to make more friends and this, that, or the Adhyatmikam. So this is what is called world dependence. The second one is God dependence. You graduate from world dependence to God dependence. And the primary method to shift over from world dependence to God dependence is Karma Yoga. Karma Yoga. So in fact, that is the central theme of the Bhagavad Gita, and really the central theme of all Upanishads is Karma Yoga. Most important thing. And our life should be to transform karma to Karma Yoga. This is the key to our life. You do the same things but with a different attitude. Swami Dayanand used to say that. He says, if I were to translate Karma Yoga into meaningful term, it will be attitude based on certain facts. Change in attitude based on facts. And so this is the transformation from world dependence to God dependence. What do you mean by God dependence? It means recognizing that things are being taken care of for you. You need to see you are not alone. You don't have to put the entire burden on yourself. You in fact are in the middle of a huge molecule of the world where you need to have the trust that that you can depend upon someone helping you. And it is helping you, but you don't realize it. You don't realize it. I know Swami Chinmayananda gave this example, which is apparently a true example. He says, they have evidence that when the railroads first came to India, when the British actually made the the railways. And so they laid the tracks, and of course they would go to smaller towns and villages. Sometimes you have to go through all the small villages and so on. So this was brand new, something people had never seen before. So then the village elders will say, okay, now if you have to go 25, 30 miles or something, you don't have to go on foot, or you don't have to go on a bullock cart. Just get a ticket and sit down, and this will take you. So many of the villagers, they'll say, really? How's that going to happen? They'll say, you just come. So they were carrying a huge basket of things, and they're saying, you just please come and sit down on the train, and the train will take you. So they say there was evidence that people would enter the compartment and keep the tokri still on their head. So somebody will say, why? Put the tokri down. And he says, no, but don't I have to carry it? Initially, they all have the feeling. This is exactly our situation. Exactly our situation. You don't realize that you are being transported. We don't realize that we are hurtling through space at 18,000 miles per second. And there are things that are being taken care of. We are rotating, there's all kinds of sun and the moon and heat and food, and everything is being given. There's a lot of things going. And then inside our body, the heart is being beaten, the blood is flowing. All those kinds of things are happening. And in the midst of all this, my feeling is that I'm alone. It's very much like, and I've got my own burden, I don't know what my future is going to be. I better take care of it. It's just like holding a tokri on top of your head. It's exactly what the situation is. And then slowly it is taught, please, be wise. You don't need to you need to understand there's a lot of things helping you. And please depend on the overall expression of Ishvara. And this is done through Karma Yoga. Through Karma Yoga. And the Karma Yoga, as we will see in the next, Karma Yoga is the central theme of the Bhagavad Gita, as I mentioned. This is what it is all talked about. And not easy. We don't accept it easily. So that's why it is repeated in various ways. Like, for example, the very first one that we will see. Brahmani adhaya karmani sangam tyaktva karoti yaha. So we will go into this more detail. But so the Karma Yoga is to go from world dependence to God dependence. Is that what I have to do? Is that the final step? No. It's not the final step. Then what is the final step? So, final step is to go from God dependence to self-dependence. But is self-dependence, which is the self where it is independent of the world. But you cannot go straight away from God, from world dependence to self-dependence. So this is what is said, is that you first have to go take the first step of understanding Ishvara in its relationships in the world. So this is what is called Saguna Brahma. Saguna Brahma understanding. Saguna Brahma means the role of Ishvara in the running of the world. This I have to first get, because I cannot jump from total dependence to total independence. I have to go from total dependence to relative independence and relative dependence. This is the first step, is the Karma Yoga. So this is why it is said that Karma Yoga is not your passport to freedom completely, immediately. It is a preparation. Karma can only give you the right attitude that allows you to understand the possibility of your being independent of the world. Only Jnana Yoga is capable of giving you complete freedom. So the Karma Yoga is the preparation for Jnana Yoga. This is the central theme of Bhagavad Gita. Not often understood, often misunderstood. They think that it should be karma and jnanam and bhakti, all are this different ways of reaching the same. It is not. Because unless you understand that your conclusion that you are a jiva, therefore dependent on the world, is false. As we were discussing in the previous class, it is like being in a dream. And so unless you completely forget about it by waking up from that, you're not going to be free. But karma doesn't allow you to reach that point directly. So anyway, that is so this is what it is said, is that in terms of your appreciation, which is called prayer or upasana, you first have to become proficient in Saguna Brahma upasana. Then you get ready to understand Nirguna Brahma upasana. So first you have to understand that as Ishvara, there is an order to the world that you are part of. Relax. Relax in the presence of Ishvara. Discover the presence of Ishvara and relax. Don't take the burden on yourself. No need to do that. Just like a villager who says, hey, put your tokri down. Tokri is also going to be going with you. And so that is the first one. Then it prepares you for the final entry. And the final entry is in the form of number 8 or 9. He says, Naiva kinchit karomi iti yukta manyeta tattvavid pashyan shrinvan sprishan jigran, etc. He says, Indriyani indriyartheshu vartante iti dharayan. So that means that the asangatvam means that I am not really connected to it. That will come with a gradual understanding that my sense organs are holding on to the sense objects and I am enjoying the show. Right now that doesn't happen because you feel I am the one who is really doing everything. I'm the one that is seeing. But your eyes are seeing. You're observing, your eyes seeing. And so that kind of an independence, so this is what is called indriyani indriyartheshu vartante iti dharayan. That you are just enjoying the show. And right now it doesn't seem possible, but it will be happening. This is exactly what the process is. So that's number 8 or 9. Then, in number 10, Brahmani adhaya karmani sangam tyaktva karoti yaha lipyatena sapapena padma patram ivambhasa. So it simply explains what the feeling of the Jivan Mukta is in the past. And here, the true nature of Karma Yoga is re-emphasized. Because remember, the main thing that the Bhagavad Gita is contributing is to explain how to live a life of Karma Yoga. This is the central part of the whole thing. Even Jnanam is, of course, talked about and so on, but Sri Krishna spends most of his time on explaining Karma Yoga. That is the heart of the Bhagavad Gita. And then when you keep on reading it, then the Jnanam becomes more obvious. But until then, Karma Yoga is the main focus. So here also in number 10, the same thing. He says, dedicating the actions to Ishvara, he who acts without attachment is not affected by any results of it. So how is that possible? This is what we have to see. So there, in fact, I think you know what we can do. Let us see the word meanings of all 3 verses, 10, 11, and 12. And then we will kind of combine the sense behind each one of them. We just did the number 10. Brahmani adhaya karmani. So adhaya means placing or dedicating your actions to Ishvara, and who acts without attachment is not affected by any results. So in a way, sometimes, just to give a little bit more examples of that, Swami Maheshananji, I think, does a great job of explaining this. He said, supposing you have, you are a worker in some business, and you are well fitted in the structure of the business. Well fitted means that you are cognizant of the entire business as let them figure out, you do your job, you're being well rewarded. And you do your job without worrying about yourself at any point. Be worried about the results of the whole business. He gave this example so beautifully. If you recall, I'll just repeat it. That there was a shopkeeper. He was a owner of a shop. And during Diwali time, when there was a lot of business, lot of traffic and so on, he asked a couple of his people that, listen, I know you've been working since the 8 o'clock in the morning, but we are short of some goods, and I think we need to have someone buy this because we're going to have a lot of customers tomorrow morning and we need to have this restocked. So can you work for an extra 4 hours after your normal? And so one person said, sir, I have a family my wife is waiting, I cannot do this. And he used to do that several times. And he find that the same person, he just wants to work 8 to 5, that's it. There's another person, he says, sir, anytime you want me to help, I'll be glad to help. I've been with you for a long time, and I know this is discomfort for me. I also want to go home, but I'll do it. I'll do it. So there was another thing we talked about, which is very revealing to me. This is very beautiful to see. The Swami Maheswaranji pointed this out. He said that supposing you throw a ball at a wall, and the ball comes back to you with a bounce. Supposing you have a rubber ball and you throw it at the wall. The results of the ball coming back to you are very predictable, because there may be some differences in the amount of velocity you sent it, but pretty much available. But suppose the results are not obvious. You know what it means? It means that there is a conscious person behind the results. As in the case of the shop owner who has asked these two people for help, he's not telling them, by the way, if you go there for 4 hours, I'm going to give you this much more money. He doesn't say that. But you know what? At the end of the year, he decides to give a greater bonus to the person who was really helping him. This is choice. And the worker also doesn't say that, I worked for 4 extra hours and I was not appreciated. What's going on? I'm not going to do that from next time on. So this is meaning Sangam. Sangam means you are so attached to the results that I need to be paid overtime. And by the way, right now, I don't want to wait for it later. This is called Sangam. Whereas if you just do your job with the trust that I will be repaid sooner or later, then what you find is that a conscious person cannot forget that. Cannot forget it, he will reward you for it. So this is the spirit of it. He says, Brahmani adhaya karmani sangam tyaktva karoti yaha. When you say that there is a huge shop owner of this whole world, which it is, you just don't recognize it. So please recognize it. Relax. Do all the work for this person. Just keep on doing it without being picayune about, okay, how come I didn't get overtime today? How come he didn't pay me back? He'll pay me back because it is not like throwing a ball at a wall. At the appropriate time, you will get your reward. Don't worry about it. This is the spirit of the Karma Yoga. So then, if we continue number 11 and 12, let's look at that. Kayena manasa buddhya kevalaihi indriyaihi api yoginaha karma kurvanti sangam tyaktva atma shuddhaye. So tyaktva sangam, again the same thing, without attachment. We will come back to it one more time. Yoginaha. So yoginaha means karma yoginaha. Karma yoginaha. One who has decided, I want to adopt this. This is a good method. The very wisdom of Vedanta is telling me that I should adopt it, and I think makes sense. It may not be obvious to me today, but I want to now develop an attitude which is central to Ishvara and to recognize the presence of Ishvara in my life. This is called a yogi, yogina. He says, Tyaktva sangam yoginaha kurvanti karma atma shuddhaye. It is for the purity of the mental purity. So we'll go into that in a minute. And then how do I act out with the body? Kayena, manasa, mind, buddhya, intellect, and even indriyaihi, without the abhimana that I am doing everything. So we'll come back to it all. I'm just giving you the word meanings to each one of them. Then in number 12, or if you want, we can summarize it by the English sentence. Without attachment, the karma yogis perform action for the sake of purity of the mind, body and intellect, and sense organs without identification. So that's the English translation. Now let's go to number 12. Yuktaha karma phalam tyaktva shantim apnoti naishtikim ayuktaha kamakarena phale saktaha nibadhyate. So both the one who gains freedom and the one who continues to be bound are described here. Again, tyaktva karma phalam, renouncing the results of action. One, the disciplined person, yuktaha, apnoti shantim, attains peace, naishtikim. Naishtikim means one which is permanent, which is what's the English word for it? Abiding. Yes, abiding freedom. We'll go into all of the commentary on it. And sakta phale kamakarena ayuktaha nibadhyate. Whereas a person who is very concerned about the results stays bound. So let's look at the English translation. Renouncing the results of action, the disciplined person attains peace born of the discipline. Attached to the result due to the impulse of desires, however, you can add the word however, the undisciplined person is totally bound. So this is the sense of the three verses. So here, in verse number 11, okay, a certain amount of flexibility is shown. Not certain amount, lots of flexibility is shown. Flexibility means it's not a dogmatic thing that you have to do it this way, you've got to, follow this kind of a thing. No. You have lots of options in which you can further your progress through karma yoga. So here Swami Paramarthananda made a very beautiful suggestion. He said, kayena. Kayena means with the body. You have a choice of doing a mental prayer to Ishvara, just having the right attitude, which is good. But you don't involve the body. Okay? Where's the problem with that? There is a problem with that. And Swami Paramarthananda highlighted this quite a bit. He says, what tends to happen is that one of the biggest obstacles in our life, even for a student, is we become lazy. because it is easier to not do anything and just sit there and just say, I'm just going to do a prayer once in a while, that's enough. And this is not like that. You really do have to become active, both mentally active and to maintain your lifestyle active with the body also. So for example, helping others, participating in some, I find this very beautiful that the older people sometimes they just volunteer in hospitals. I go to Palo Alto Medical Care, and as soon as you enter, this obviously retired person will say, "May I help you?" A very beautiful thing to see. And we all say, which floor is on such and such doctor? And says, "Oh, that, it should go here or go here." So this is where a kayena helping is also very important. It must be satisfying to that person, it's certainly satisfying to other people as well. So not just mental, but also physical help is also necessary. Then manasa. Manasa obviously means the right attitude of thinking and so on and so forth. Buddhya. Buddhya means a inquiry, study, like we are doing. Very important. So there is a flexibility on how you do it, but you have to employ everything under your control to get out of this mess that we are in. And it's an important element to do so. So now comes the central theme of this whole thing, Sangam Tyaktva. Sangam Tyaktva. This is the crux of the Karma Yoga. And here some more commentary. It's important suggestions given by the Acharyas. So what happens here is that in the conduct of our lives, you find, if I can oversimplify it a little bit, two elements involved in the conduct of our lives when we want to do something and so on. So one is the actual action. The other one is worrying about it. And what is said is, you should learn to conduct your life without worry. This is the real meaning of Sangam Tyaktva. Because we have a limited amount of emotional energy. So what is being suggested is, you please devote that emotional energy in the actual work and improving the efficiency of your work, as opposed to becoming unproductive because of the worry. So let's take the future tense. In terms of the future, again, these two elements present themselves in the following way. One is planning for the future, appropriate. Taking steps for the future, appropriate. Necessary. Being prepared for unproductive things to happen, perhaps sometimes, appropriate. All of that is appropriate. But then unnecessarily worrying about it. What is going to happen? What if I fail? What if I get caught here and so on? Inappropriate. It is just, and worrying about it is primarily due to the fact that you feel alone. Is the thing. You feel that no one is helping me. I've got to figure out on myself. And I don't know if I'm strong enough to figure it out. I don't know if I am capable of doing this. Worry. When in fact, as you slowly let go, kind of taking the tokri away from your head and putting it down, you say, you know what, I've done everything that I can, but let it happen, whatever happens, happens. I give you this beautiful example that Swami Paramarthananda had given. I thought it was a great example. He said, supposing you are planning to fly out someplace in taking an airplane. And now what happens is you have a lot of choices. It was funny that I talked to our ashram's manager, Shuddhatma, just yesterday. So he had sent me an email, and he asked me, we were talking about Swami Viditatmananda's impending visit next month for talks. And so he was saying, he says, I found a flight on Alaska Airlines. And what do you think of it? So I told him that actually when I just went to the Aim for Seva meeting in Saylorsburg, I took Alaska Airlines from San Jose. It's a new flight, and I was very happy with it. Everything went out well. I didn't have to go all the way to San Francisco and so on. So I told Chudatma, I said, I was happy with it, and if you can find the right flight, that's fine. Send Swamiji there. Then I added, and I was just thinking of Swami Paramarthananda's comments when I did that. I added the following thing. I said, Chudatmaji, there's one thing you need to think about. They probably have only one flight during the day. And so, if for some reason there is a problem with the flight, you are out of luck. It's very difficult to change carriers and so on. United, on the other hand, has 3 or 4 flights coming in both directions. So Swami Paramarthananda said that if you are examining the flights available, it may be better if you think about what happens if this flight gets cancelled. When is the next flight? This is called planning. It's called planning. And it has happened to all of us. I'm sure, it has happened to me, where flights are cancelled, and this happened one time. I was coming back from the ashram. I always go to Newark and take a flight from there. One time, the traffic was so bad that I had to miss my flight. But there was another one 2 hours later, and I caught it. So, this is called appropriateness of the attitude towards the future. That you plan productive. But then, despite that, if things don't work out, you say, you know what, I did the best I can. Otherwise, you say, oh my gosh, why didn't I think about it? So now it becomes the past. So the same attitude that you have towards the future, the same attitude is towards the past, where you regret and you belittle yourself. Oh, I am not capable of making right decisions. Why did I do that? Why didn't I think of it? You know what? What is done is done. Just learn from it and just go ahead. So this is the central part of Sangam Tyaktva. So it doesn't mean do not expect results. This is a wrong way to look at it. Wrong way to look at it, that Sangam Tyaktva means that don't look at the results. Sure, look at the results, but deploy your limited emotional resources in being productive, plan, rather than worrying about it. This is the central part of this. So throughout this, when you look at Brahmani adhaya karmani sangam tyaktva karoti yaha lipyatena sapapena padma padma vivambhasa. So just like a lotus leaf, which even though it is in touch with the water, doesn't get wet. So similarly here also, all of the actions in your life, if you just do it with enthusiasm and with complete trust in a higher authority, which is the truth. You don't have to pretend or anything. In fact, you are the one who are, I'm not saying you, but we are the one who are, we ignore it and say, where is Ishvara? I don't see anything. I am responsible for it. No. You are also responsible, and Ishvara expects you to act. And so, for example, doing some things without worry is the recognition of Ishvara. Because actually, if you don't think about a higher authority, then it is difficult not to worry. Difficult not to worry. The moment you feel you are alone, you have to protect it. And so it doesn't mean that you don't take precautions. That when you go to the airport, you have to make sure that you're walking from the parking, that you don't follow dark places. All of that is precautions. You have to take all of that. But unnecessary worrying is to be left to Ishvara. You do it. I'm just doing the best I can. And if I do that, then what happens is that my mind gets more purified. So, Atma Shuddhaye Yoginaha karma kurvanti sangam tyaktva Atma Shuddhaye. So here the word Atma Shuddhi means, the word Atma doesn't mean the real Atma. In fact, that's one of the confusing aspects of Gita, is that the same word is used in different senses, different ways of looking at it. Swami Paramarthananda was saying that there is a word called pratipatti. Pratipatti. Pratipatti means understanding, or so on. He said if you look at the meaning of the word pratipatti in the dictionary, it has 35 meanings. This is why they say that just reading Vedanta from dictionaries and books doesn't help. So what to do? So there is in fact a study which is a Sahakari study. It is a associated study called Mimamsa. So Mimamsa is one of what is called one of the secondary studies, along with lots of other ones like grammar and so on. But what Mimamsa does is to analyze how to take the correct meaning, given that there are multiple meanings. So it has a science to it. It has some structure to it. How do you decide? There are lots of elements to it. So the most important one is context. Another one is repetition at other places. Another one is reconciliation with commentaries on that word. So lots of different things. This is called the science of Mimamsa. And so here we say that Atma Shuddhi, because supposing you say Atma Shuddhi and you look up in the dictionary and say this is for the purification of the Atma. And supposing you say, okay, this is the dictionary people must know what they're doing, they're wise people. So this is the, no. Atma doesn't need any Shuddhi. It cannot be purified, it is already totally pure. So here Atma Shuddhi means the mind. The mind has to be purified. And what does the purity of the mind mean? What does it really mean? So that has to be asked also, that for me to not be worried about the results, not to worry about things and so on, as you were saying, that results in my purity of the mind. And what does the purity of the mind does? How does it help me? We should be very clear about this. The purity of the mind means I can see my reflection more accurately. What happens is that if the mind is not purified enough, it means it is not subtle enough. There are a couple of ways of looking at it, by the way. And I'm just giving you the Shastric examples of that. That suppose you're looking at the mirror and the mirror is very dirty. Very dirty. In fact, look at this example, beautiful example that I read about, really remarkable. He said, supposing the sun is shining on lots of different surfaces. There are trees, there are walls, there's carpets, lots of things. And you can see the presence of the sun light. You can see the presence of the sunlight. In this room also, for example, you can see that this is sunlight. There is some other lights there, but the sunlight is there. So you see the presence of the sun, yes. But you do not see the shape of the sun exactly. It is indirect lighting. But suppose you have a clean mirror where the sun is shining, as along with the sun shining on the carpet, walls, trees, etc. You know what the difference is? The difference is that the sun that you see in the mirror exactly replicates what the sun looks like. It is a direct reflection, not an indirect reflection. You don't have to guess that this is a sunlight from some source of. It's very obvious. You find that the sunlight it's a very, very beautiful thing. It lights up the whole world for about 12 hours. And you can guess what the sun must be like from the indirect lighting. But if you see that in a mirror, you don't have to guess. In fact, you cannot look at the sun in the mirror because it will injure you. You shouldn't be looking. It is that exact replica. So also a clean mind. So what happens is an unclean mind. What is the unclean mind? Unclean mind means that it is full of a feeling that I am alone. I need to worry a lot. I cannot let go. Here also there is a reflection of yourself who is totally free, where the worry cannot touch it. Cannot touch it. This is the nature of the self. Cannot touch it. There is no connection with the world. Like in deep sleep. No connection, no possibility. This is the self. But when it is being looked at through a dirty mind, unclean mind, which is full of worry, full of the falseness of the fact that I am alone, no one is helping me. And as a result of that, the worry that I have got to do things, then the purity of the self is not accurately reflected in the unclean mind. This is the problem. I see myself, of course, but I see myself not as accurately as I should. Just like the shining of the sun in a non-shining reflecting surface like a wall does reflect the presence of the sun, but not very accurately. Not exactly the way it is, as it is in a mirror. Similarly to that Atma Shuddhi means that if my mind has been slowly scrubbed off and it becomes more appreciative of the presence of Ishvara, the fact that I am not alone, the fact that worry need not play a part in my life at all, except for planning purposes, being prepared, all of those are appropriate, but unnecessary worry, which stems from a non-understanding of the reality of it, is the unclean mind that does not reflect me very well. But a mind which has been cleaned assiduously with a lot of perseverance, with a lot of commitment, then my own mind reflects the self very well. And I have a sense of satisfaction and happiness which is close to what the self is. This is the reason for Atma Shuddhi. And the Atma Shuddhi means that my reflection is so clear that all that is required is for someone to tell me, this looks like you, but this is not you. That's it. That is the jnanam. Karma yoga will not reveal who you are as well. But the purity of the mind, due to karma yoga, will enable you to appreciate the freedom of yourself very quickly. The example that I pointed out in the earlier class, I'll just briefly mention that here, and then we'll probably talk about it some other time. So this is a very important thing that we will develop. So there it is said that if you're looking at your reflection in the mirror, then if you take the reflection itself as yourself, it is called Brahma. It means that it is not accurate. So I won't explain this very much. I'll just give it to you, and then we'll deal with it some other time. So, for example, supposing you're looking at the reflection in the mirror, and you take yourself as the reflection. In other words, it's not as you're saying, this is my reflection. The reflection becomes you. Like it happens in the case of animals and very small kids. It happens. Then there is a Brahma. That is not right. You cannot look at the reflection and say, that is me. But once you understand that this is like me, not me, then the reflection doesn't bother you. Actually, we enjoy looking at our reflection. Swami Dayananji used to say that. He says, it's so interesting. When you look at, everybody loves to see themselves in the mirror. You don't have this attitude, I saw myself yesterday also, I'm bored at it. I'm not going to look at myself again. Forget it. I'm tired of looking at myself. That doesn't happen. Doesn't happen. Even when you're brushing your teeth, you look up and say, with your foam and so on, doesn't matter. Everybody enjoys looking at their thing. Then you make certain comments. Oh, I'm getting old, I've lost my hair, this, that, or the other. You can say that. But you still want to see yourself. So seeing yourself is not a problem. But to mistake the reflection to be yourself is the problem. So Atma Shuddhaye means you see yourself very accurately in the mirror. And then if there are some defects due to the mirror and so on, it doesn't bother you. So for example, in the case of supposing you see yourself in a body of water. So if you go to a village or something and then there's no mirrors available and you still want to, supposing you want to shave, and then so you have to find something that gives you an idea of it, so otherwise you don't put the razor at the wrong spot. So you look at the water and the water starts shimmering. You don't get worried about it. In fact, it has some big wind and the waves come, and then so you disappear altogether. You become like pieces. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. So similarly here also, Atma Shuddhi means that it reflects you very well, but your looking at it doesn't bother you. So this is the result of the Karma Yoga. So look at it from that standpoint. So again, now we can summarize it. Number 11, 12. Kayena manasa buddhya kevalaihi indriyaihi api. There's a couple of words that I have not explained. Kevalaihi, etc. We'll do that next time. Yoginaha karma kurvanti sangam tyaktva atma shuddhaye. Yuktah karma phalam tyaktva shantim apnodi naishtikim On the other hand, ayuktaha kamakarena phale saktaha nibadyate. So that I think will be better if we just postpone. It is just a few things to talk about in number 12, and then we're pretty much done with that. Then we'll go on from there. So with that, I'll close today's class. Om Asato Ma Satgamaya Tamaso Ma Jyotirgamaya Mrityorma Amritam Gamaya Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Shri Gurubhyo Namah. Hari Om. So we should figure out whether we should have the half hour in between classes or not. It'll be interesting to see. I'd ideally like to make it 15 minutes. Half hour may be a bit too much, but it just looks kind of funny to start a class at 9:45. But we'll see. Yeah, half hour is a long time to go in between classes.
Whatever your decision, sir.
Well, no, I'm looking for everybody's inputs on that.
10 minutes break is good enough, I think.
Sorry?
10 minutes break is good enough for those who want to go to the restroom and
I think so.
And that's all we
So
can
maybe
do.
15 minutes is what we will do. Huh? That may be better. It'll look funny to have 9:45 to 11:15, but we'll get used to it. Okay, that might be good.
So 15 next week?
I think so. Yeah, let's do it 15 minutes. I'll send out an email. Any questions about today's topics? Otherwise, this place is okay? Hmm? You're able to...
Not quieter compared to the other place I'm saying.
quieter?
Yeah, I mean, which is good.
It'll, interestingly enough, it won't be very quiet soon because JP, the owner, who's already moved in, you can see his desk there, he's going to have a staff of 25 people here on the other side. That's why we had this
Right.
glass partition.
But simultaneously?
No.
Oh.
Generally,